The Mystery of Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, All Theories and Explanations. Introduction. On the night of March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight MH370, a Boeing 777-200ER carrying 239 people, took off from Kuala Lumpur bound for Beijing. About 38 minutes into the flight, while cruising at 35,000 feet over the South China Sea, the aircraft's transponder stopped transmitting. Within minutes, civilian radar lost track of it. Unbeknownst to the world at the time, military radar continued to track the plane as it deviated sharply from its intended route, flying west across the Malay Peninsula before turning south into one of the most remote parts of the planet, the southern Indian Ocean. What followed became one of aviation's most enduring and perplexing mysteries. In the years since, theories have proliferated, some based on careful technical analysis, others on political suspicion, and still others on pure speculation. The aircraft's wreckage has never been located in full, and the absence of definitive evidence has left families, investigators, and the public grappling with uncertainty. The known facts. The last voice transmission from MH370 came at 1:19 a.m. local time. The co-pilot's calm, "Good night, Malaysian 370," as the flight transferred from Malaysian to Vietnamese airspace. 2 minutes later, the transponder went silent. The aircraft deviated from its planned course, flying back over Malaysia, then out over the Andaman Sea. Satellite communications data later revealed that the aircraft remained in the air for roughly 7 more hours. Automatic handshakes between the aircraft and an Inmarsat satellite showed the plane traveling south before disappearing entirely around 8:19 a.m., likely after running out of fuel. Despite the largest and most expensive search in aviation history, covering tens of thousands of square kilometers of ocean floor, no definitive crash site has been found. Small pieces of debris, including a wing flaperon and fragments of the horizontal stabilizer, washed up on islands and coastlines around the western Indian Ocean in the years that followed. These confirmed that the aircraft had indeed ended its journey somewhere in the southern Indian Ocean. Official investigations. The official investigation concluded that the flight's diversion was likely due to deliberate manual inputs. This meant that at least in the early stages of the disappearance, someone in the cockpit, or conceivably someone who had taken control of the cockpit, was flying the aircraft. Investigators could not determine a definitive motive or responsible party. Australia's Transport Safety Bureau considered the most probable scenario to be a ghost flight, one where the crew and passengers were incapacitated, likely due to hypoxia, lack of oxygen, and the aircraft flew on autopilot until fuel exhaustion. Yet this theory did not fully explain why the aircraft's communications were turned off and why the flight path was so dramatically altered. The main theories: A. Hypoxia and unresponsive crew. One plausible theory is that a sudden or gradual loss of cabin pressure incapacitated everyone on board. With the autopilot engaged, the plane would have continued on its last programmed heading until fuel ran out. The problem with this explanation is the deliberate and complex turns made after the transponder was switched off. If hypoxia struck early, it is difficult to explain these maneuvers unless they were made before the crew became incapacitated. B. Pilot suicide. Some aviation experts believe that Captain Zahari Ahmad Shah may have deliberately taken the plane off course and flown it into a remote part of the Indian Ocean to ensure it would never be found. Supporting arguments include the complexity of the route, the disabling of multiple communication systems, and simulator data found at the captain's home that suggested long flights into the Southern Ocean. Opponents of this theory point out that no conclusive motive was ever identified, and that Zahari's personal and professional life showed no obvious signs of impending self-destruction. See hijacking. Another possibility is that the plane was hijacked by someone on board, either to use it as leverage or to crash it deliberately. In the months after the disappearance, speculation centered on the possibility of terrorist involvement, though no group ever claimed responsibility. A hijacker could have forced the pilots to change course, but sustaining such control for hours seems unlikely without outside communication or demands, demilitary intervention, or remote takeover. Some conspiracy theories suggest that the aircraft was intercepted or remotely taken over using secret technology. Proponents of this theory sometimes point to patents for uninterruptible autopilot systems, which in theory could allow authorities to seize control of a plane to prevent a hijacking. These theories often tie in the remote US military base at Diego Garcia, positing that MH370 was diverted there or shot down to protect sensitive operations. There is no verifiable evidence for these claims. Shoot-down accident. This theory suggests that MH370 was accidentally shot down during a military exercise or in a mistaken act of defense. Proponents note other historical incidents where civilian aircraft have been downed by mistake. However, there is no radar data or credible debris evidence to support this, and it would have required a massive cover-up involving multiple governments. Onboard fire or technical failure. Some suggest that a fire or catastrophic technical failure could have knocked out communications and forced the crew to turn back toward an airport. If the crew was later incapacitated by smoke or hypoxia, the plane could have flown on autopilot until fuel ran out. The long and complex diversion path makes this less likely, though not impossible. Fringe theories. From alien abduction to time travel mishaps, the mystery of MH370 has attracted its share of fantastical explanations. These ideas are almost always unsupported by physical evidence, but their persistence speaks to the human desire to explain the unexplainable, especially when official answers feel unsatisfying. Why the wreckage hasn't been found. The primary challenge is geography. The southern Indian Ocean is vast, deep, and subject to extreme weather conditions. The aircraft's final resting place may be in a deep trench, on a rugged seabed, or in an area not yet searched. Ocean currents disperse floating debris over thousands of kilometers, making reverse drift calculations extremely complex. In addition, the initial search areas were based on imperfect interpretations of satellite data, meaning the true location could lie outside these zones. Renewed search efforts. In the years following the disappearance, several private and governmental searches have tried to locate the wreckage. Advanced sonar mapping and underwater drones have combed huge swaths of seabed without success. Recently, a new search plan has targeted an area near the Broken Ridge underwater plateau, a region previously thought less likely, but now reconsidered due to improved drift analysis. Search teams remain hopeful, but until the wreckage is found, the true fate of MH370 will remain uncertain. Psychological and human factors. When mysteries involve the possible deliberate actions of trusted professionals, the psychological element looms large. Captain Zahari was a respected and experienced pilot with no confirmed history of mental illness or extremist views. The first officer, Fariq Abdul Hamid, was young and relatively new to the Boeing 777, with no known disciplinary or psychological issues. If the loss was caused by human action, the motive may never be known. Pilot suicide cases in aviation history are rare, but not unprecedented. The stigma and disbelief surrounding such acts often make them difficult for families and the public to accept. The lasting mystery. More than a decade on, Flight MH370's disappearance remains a gaping wound in the history of aviation. The loss has led to changes in airline safety procedures, including more frequent position reporting, longer-lasting locator beacons, and discussion of real-time flight data streaming. But these improvements cannot erase the questions left behind. The true story of MH370 may still lie hidden on the ocean floor, waiting for technology, persistence, or chance to reveal it. Until then, All that remains are fragments, both of the aircraft and of the truth.